BMW E46 Turbo Build. We're going to talk about the intercooler and all the piping associated with it, as well as the intake for the bottom mount turbo setup. First would be the intercooler itself. It is the most visible part of this system. So you can mount it to the core support locations on these cars. You could also use these studs right here if you wanted to. What I did was I went out here and I used metal that we had laying around and made my own brackets, reused one of the original nuts on either side by simply cutting the washer down because the washer and the nut are integrated together. I also did notch the core support right here just to get the intercooler a little bit higher. And this thing is really on here. You can grab it, shake it, the whole car moves. So this thing is sturdy. Depending how wide your intercooler is, you may have to notch out the crash bar for the front bumper. Here is an example. You can see these rectangular notches that have been made in the crash bar. Directly mounted to the intercooler, I have this 90-degree silicone coupler, which shoots back to a 45 chunk of 2.5 aluminum. It is then coupled right here, and then another 45 2.5 going to the turbo. Right here is the turbocharger itself. There is a 90-degree coupler welded directly to the compressor housing. That gives you the initial direction, and then you need a coupler which is offset. So it leaves the turbo and goes up and over the subframe, and that gives you the path for the intercooler piping to go the whole way to the intercooler right there. Then this boot right here is a 4-inch reduced to a 3-inch. That is the primary intake of the turbocharger. It then runs up and goes into the engine bay up through there, which ultimately ends up right here with a Can-End filter. I also made this heat shielding here, which surrounds the air filter. And then there's another heat shield right here, which I have bolted to the valve cover. That heat shield actually runs up underneath the turbo manifold. You can see it down in there. It just kind of wraps around it. That is totally shielding the intake piping. This heat shield is directly attached to the air duct right here. There's also a small bracket that goes to the body. So you unbolt it, and it removes as a complete assembly. The air duct is from a diesel E46 from the M57 engine. It goes to the opposite side. The original gasoline one is directed to the driver's side, but since we now have a turbocharger on this side, we have to put the intake over here. Then we also did add this little air scoop right here, which is going to help direct airflow up into the ducting directly to the filter. That is because these air snorkels or ducts, they are designed to work in conjunction with the factory air box, meaning there will be a suction on this side, so that's going to naturally help draw air through. Since there's no actual sealed suction happening here, we put this scoop just to kind of force the air to take a path to the filter. Originally, there was a big reservoir here for the windshield washer fluid. The solution to that would be to use the M3 washer reservoir. The other solution would be to install a compact relocated reservoir like this one. This one here is from Alvarez Fabrication. He has two sizes. This cylinder style one for clearancing of the ABS pump if your car has it here. He also offers a higher capacity square reservoir if you do not have the ABS unit in this location. Moving on to the outlet of the intercooler, we have completely 3-inch the whole way up to the throttle body. Whenever you are making this side, you want to stay close to the core support because you need room for your fog light if you still have them. Otherwise, it will hit the fog light right here. There's a big gap right here to get up into the engine bay. It then goes right to the throttle body. If you have xenon or HID headlights, you will need to relocate your ballast. I have it right here with a simple bracket that I made that mounts to the body. Because originally the ballast, it mounts to the back of the headlight right here, but it will not fit with the piping, so you need to put it somewhere else. That is why I brought it up and mounted it right there so it is out of the way. As far as the mass airflow sensor, I'm using a PMAS HPX MAF. There are loads of wiring diagrams online to splice them into the original MAF connector. After the mass airflow sensor, I retain the factory F connector right here because that supplies my fuel pressure regulator, which is underneath the car, with vacuum and a boost reference. You can also see this big plug right here. Now originally, That would go directly to the ICV, but in this application, I have removed it, so I just plugged off the port for it. We now have the front bumper installed onto this car. We chose the MTEC 2 style bumper. You can see the intercooler through the mesh of the bumper, and then underneath the car, you can see how the intercooler piping is routing on the hot side and over here on the cold side. We are very close to the first startup of the E46 Turbo project. In the next video, we are going to discuss then install this custom suspension and also talk about strut braces. And there we have it. That is all for tonight's video. I will see you in the next one. Catch you later.